The B times three are three bass players of distinct, unique, different backgrounds who combined our playing philosophies and approaches to make, we think, a very distinct and unique playing band. In fact, we were the first, basically it was Hamm who inspired it, because Stu was the one who made this happen. And we were the first three bass band to come along, and it's nice. It's nice when you're a trendsetter, even in the small community of bass players that there are, compared as, let's say, to horn or guitar or drums.
Well, what about comparing you to Victor and Stanley and Marcus?
Mm-hmm. They saw us. Actually, I always thought, as a joke, I thought that they should have been B times three, but I don't know if it was politically correct to refer to them as Black times three. So, but that's kind of my humor, but I guess it kind of works out.
Is it their kind of humor, too?
Well, it will if you put this out on the internet, so, but I'm okay with it. So we were touring, and then we found out that Victor and Stanley and Marcus were going to play together. And it's nice. It's a legacy continued, and we're talking about, actually there's a picture of us somewhere that, of the six of us, you know, hanging out. So, but in my case, and in our particular version of it, it's nice because I would say that we're not as jazz background oriented as, let's say, the other guys, because Stanley and Marcus have more of a jazz background. Victor doesn't. He's an R&B or, you know, from that point of view. In our case, it's me as the jazz guy, and then Stu is the slap kind of rock guy, and Billy as the decidedly unslap and maybe more intensely rock guy. So you put us together at the end of the show and individualize our particular performance is rather exciting, you know. I mean, it's a good thing, and it would be kind of interesting. I'm not sure what sonic possibility can come from it, but what would it be like if you put those guys with us guys, so that we would be we guys, and you really wouldn't get much of a separation of too much sound. I mean, it would basically be one guy waiting, me, that's done, Stanley waiting, Stanley, and you go down the line. So I don't think six bass players can do it. But
well, Billy mentioned that in my interview with him, because I asked him about the other guys, you know, Stanley and Victor and Marcus, and I also mentioned that I saw John Clayton with Rodney Whitaker and Christian McBride. And Billy said, well, why don't we do B times 9?
That would be B times nuts, because, you know, we wouldn't hear a thing. I mean, you know, all the bass players put together just make a din. They did it at NAMM shows, and I won't do it anymore. The NAMM shows are often set up where they'll have a bass night.
Yes.
Usually ended by, you know, 40 to 50 guys elbowing themselves up on the stage and giving each other high fives and thumbs up, and but you can't hear anything. And so, you know, I love these guys, but it might be better if I just sit in the audience and watch. So bass players getting together to play is a little bit tenuous in my thought. You have to really organize each instrument in order to work, you see. So when we did it with Stu and Billy and I, we had to organize it so that we would work together. I barely ever played with any other bass player. Richard Drexler, the upright bassist,
oh, yeah.
He's the only other guy that I ever did it with.
Jeff, you're touring right now, Scott Henderson and Mike Clark. Tell me about what can people expect? What's the gig?
The gig is my fantasy gig, because I'm playing with two incredible musicians who require the highest level I can provide. And I love those environments because I'm on my toes, I'm listening carefully, we're trying to function together and individually and provide for each other and provide for ourselves. So it's high-level music, which is, you know, that I love that. And here comes more sushi. We're in a sushi restaurant. So we're on the road. We're driving around in a van, just like we did when we were younger, because we find that you know, music in America is compromised these days. A lot of guys aren't into playing like they used to be. Wish they were more into it. So we're trying to be a little bit ambassador-esque, certainly along with the other guys that are playing, you know, who want to show people that you can provide good music and good entertainment by doing it. So we're doing America, then we come back. Afterwards, we go home. About October 3rd, we fly back to our homes, and then we go to Venezuela, and then we come back to America, and then we fly to Asia, do some gigs, and then we go from Asia to Amsterdam, and then we have a European leg. And then when the tour is over, I have 4 or 5 clinics in Europe, and so I'll be there. And then I fly back to the United States. And then I do it again later. I do the Atlas Foundation, Teddy Atlas, which is a charity that I'm very fond of. And I go and I'll play for the charity, for the Dr. Theodore A. Atlas Foundation in November, just before Thanksgiving. Then I actually got offered a gig. You know Mike Wolf? Mike Wolf is the keyboard player who was the band leader for Arsenio Hall, and he's a brilliant jazz pianist. So Mike Clark invited me to do that, so I'll do that down in Snug Harbor in New Orleans.
Oh, I played there.
You have, right? Yeah. It's a cool room.
Yeah.
It's a very cool room. And I'll do that. Then I come back, and then I go with B-Times 3 back to Europe. So I'm working right up till almost New Year. And I'm grateful because there's a lot of, when I go, I meet new friends. I acquaint with old ones, so it's out of sight. So I'm looking forward to it.
Do you have a message for the people of talk bass?
No.